Welcome to Keep It Electric, episode 66, recorded on Friday, December 6th. We're back with another episode for you today. We're going to start off with some quick hits around the league. The winter meetings kick off this Sunday. The baseball world might already have its biggest headline before then. The buzz is that Juan Soto could make his decision before the meetings even begin, but by the time you're hearing this, the suspense might already be over. Let's go ahead and unpack the latest chatter. From the start, it seemed Soto wasn't looking to stray far from the East Coast. Despite public statements about being open to all 32 teams, we all kind of knew that was just a playbook to drive up his price. If there's a bidding war, we all knew the usual suspects. It was going to be the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Dodgers. I felt like the Dodgers was always kind of a smokescreen. Sure, they could probably throw him a $2 billion contract, something astronomical, with half of it being deferred to 2060 or something, but is that really happening? No. The Blue Jays, they're in no man's land. Soto's camp isn't. I just don't think they're going to commit to a team who's still figuring out what they're going to do about Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero Jr. Vlad Jr. Even if Toronto throws in an extra $20 million, still no. The Red Sox that's getting interesting though. Rumors are flying around about a potential $700 million deal. I think that's highly likely. The Mets still might outbid anything that the Red Sox throw at them. My gut just tells me that this could just all be a ploy to force the Yankees' hand and keep Soto in pinstripes. I don't know. That's just my feeling. Only Soto's camp truly knows where this is headed. Hopefully by Sunday or Monday, we'll have some clarity. The next big bet on the free agent market, that is Pete Alonso. It makes total sense that Alonso hasn't signed anywhere yet, with Soto still holding up the market. Once Soto makes his decision, the dominoes will start to fall into place, and Alonso's future should come into sharper focus. Now, the interesting twist about Alonso, the buzz right now is that the Washington Nationals, are emerging as a serious contender for Alonso, which to me is kind of surprising. They weren't exactly the team most of us had on the radar, but it kind of adds up when you really look at it. The Nats have a sneaky good core of young talent. We saw flashes of that late last year. C.J. Abrams looked great. He might have a little bit of a gambling problem. I don't know. Who knows? But on the field, he looked like a stud last year. James Wood, that kid is massive, 6'7" outfielder. He showed some promise. Dylan Cruz, who made the most of his late season promotion, he showed some promise. So the Nationals are definitely on the upswing. If they add a proven veteran like Pete Alonso, that could be the key to shaping their future. So he'd bring leadership, consistency, and some serious power to a team that's already laying some groundwork for something special. So it'll be fascinating to see how this plays out. Alonso to the Nationals might seem like a curveball, but it could be the move that turns them into a legitimate contender in the next few years. Word on the street is that Alex Bregman declined an offer from the Astros. I don't have that number right in front of me, but I know somewhere around the 160 million ballpark, I believe. Bregman is a Scott Boras client. He is reportedly holding true to seeking $200 million on his next deal. I'm not saying he can't get that kind of money. Bregman's a proven talent, but let's not forget he's not getting any younger. While Boras has been the guy when it comes to landing big deals, his magic touch hasn't been as consistent in recent seasons. So I don't know how this is going to play out. If Bregman really holds firm at $200 million, I think this could drag out longer than we think. Teams are definitely going to take a hard look at whether they want to shell out that kind of cash for a player who's, in his 30s. It's kind of a gamble. We're going to shift gears a little bit to pitching deals. I think this one gets a little interesting. Frankie Montas, he had a pretty up and down season last year. He inked a 2-year deal worth $34 million with the Mets. He had some solid outings with the Reds. He had some really rough outings also with the Reds. And then he finished the season with the Brewers last season. On the same day, Matthew Boyd, who is a Washington native, signed a 2-year deal for $29 million with the Chicago Cubs. And for me, I might be showing my age here from the years of watching baseball, but the market right now feels pretty stiff. These aren't exactly value deals. And to me, it actually makes me appreciate Seattle's patience even more. Sure, our pitching staff is already strong, so you're not going to make an upgrade with a Matt Boyd or Frankie Montas. But if you told me that we were shelling out $34 million or $29 million for either one of them, hard pass. Thanks. but no thanks. It's a seller's market right now. Teams seem willing to spend big, even on mid-tier players. The question is, will that trend hold up for the rest of the offseason, or will things settle down once the dominoes fall? All right, so the biggest shocker to me, so far it's definitely Severino. Luis Severino signed a 3-year deal, $67 million, the largest guaranteed contract in franchise history, with none other than the A's. The Sacramento A's or the Las Vegas bound A's, whatever we're calling them these days. One thing's for sure, this move is fascinating for a whole lot of reasons. First of all, let's address the elephant in the room. This isn't just a big deal for Severino. It's the biggest deal for the A's since Eric Chavez, since he signed his contract back in 2004. So that's 20 years. 20 years have gone by, and this franchise suddenly decides to open up its checkbook. Why? Well, it's clear this isn't about Sacramento. It's not about their current situation or even current location. This is all about Vegas. The A's have been historically reluctant to spend money. Fans in Oakland begged for it year after year and only continued to get ghosted by their owner, John Fisher. Now, after years of tormenting the fan base with low payrolls, mediocre and subpar teams, and that cringeworthy goodbye letter to Oakland, Fisher decides to spend $67 million because they're prepping for Las Vegas. Not Sacramento, certainly not Oakland. Apparently, the A's are planning to boost their payroll to $100 million. It's all part of their Vegas rebrand. But man, this has to be the ultimate slap in the face to Oakland fans. It's the biggest FU I've ever seen. They've been put through the ringer only to watch their team pack up and finally spend money the second they leave town. Now, if you're an A's fan listening right now, I genuinely feel for you. I wouldn't be surprised if you're cleaning out your closet, setting fire to all your A's gear, maybe buying some Giants merch, maybe buying some Mariners gear. Look, I can't promise smooth sailing here in Seattle, but hey, if you're going, you're used to suffering, so you might feel right at home if you jump on the bandwagon here. There's plenty of room here. Let's be honest. We could use a few more diehard fans. You fit right in. All right, this one is for the Mariners fans like myself and you. After all, that's what this show is about. So let's take a moment to check in on the team's activity or lack thereof so far this December. If you head over to the Mariners transactions page right now, you'll see a grand total of 1 entry. Emerson Hancock changed his number to 26. Is there a story behind that? Honestly, I have no clue. Ask him yourself and let me know. If I find out, I'll let you know right here. But more on a more serious note, the Mariners have made some notable moves, just not with the roster just yet. They did more of a coaching staff shuffle, so let's break that down. Kevin Seitzer, formerly the hitting coach for the Braves, including he was also part of that staff in the 2021 World Series run. He's joined the Mariners staff as the hitting coach for the 2025 season. Edgar Martinez, he's got a new role. He's a senior director of hitting strategy. He's overseeing the offensive program for the entire organization. I imagine that lets Edgar focus on improving the team's approach at the plate while keeping his travel schedule lighter. Eric Young Jr., he was previously the Mariners minor league base running coordinator. He's been promoted to the first base coach. Christopher Negron moves from first base coach to third base coach, and Manny Acta moves from third base to bench coach. Honestly, I think it's a solid group, and I've got to say I really like the direction that they're heading. Kevin Seitzer is a big get. Atlanta's offense has been a juggernaut in recent years, and his experience could be a huge asset for the team. Edgar's new role feels like a perfect fit. It allows him to make a broader impact on the organization without the grind of the day-to-day. I'm especially excited to see what Eric Young Jr. brings to the table. I like his energy. He's got a lot of good energy and should be a great addition. And then if you're like me and enjoy sitting down the first base line to check out Christopher Negron's custom Jordans, you might have to switch it up and move to the third base line. I think the biggest question here is, will this group of coaching, which I think is very talented, will they have the players they need to succeed? To me, that is still a mystery. All right, so we're going to close this episode out with a deeper dive into the Mariners rumor mill. I I'd like to think we get some clarity next week when it comes down to the winter meetings. But let's be real, I thought the same thing last year and nothing really happened. So it's still worth taking a look at what's swirling around the Mariners as they've been linked to a few potential acquisitions. Let's start with what we know. So the Mariners have, some payroll flexibility when it comes down to trading to make an impact. So they've been tied to names like Cody Bellinger. I believe this is the third year in a row that Cody Bellinger's name has been floating around. Rumor has it that they've opened talks with the Cubs. Bellinger may or may not have been involved in those talks. Nico Horner was the other name that they've been linked to. And then, obviously I made my own connection with Gino. I don't know if that's really going to happen or not, but it kind of makes sense to me. I'm not sold on any of those trades. Honestly, the biggest rumor right now that's making waves is Alec Bohm. Reports say that the Mariners and Phillies have been in discussions for his services, but the kicker, the Phillies apparently are asking for a top pitcher, specifically named Logan Gilbert or George Kirby in return. So let me be clear here. The asking price is absolutely laughable. Bohm's a solid player. He was an all-star last year. He hit 280, 15 home runs, and drove in 97 ribbies. He's got a low strikeout rate, so, that's some upside, but I don't think he's a cornerstone player, in my opinion. The Phillies are trying to sell the idea that he hasn't hit his ceiling, but if you look at his stats for the last few seasons, especially these last 3 seasons, this is pretty much exactly who he is. The 275 hitter, 15 to 20 home runs, and in Seattle's lineup, I actually don't even think that those 97 ribbies would even translate. His glove is just okay. His base running doesn't add much, and then let's not forget that he spends half his season hitting in a very hitter-friendly ballpark. Most of it, I think 9 of his 15 home runs last year came in Philly. So he did hit 6 home runs on the road. 5 of them were in pitcher-friendly parks, so he can clear the fences in pitchers' parks. That includes T-Mobile, Petco, Citi Field, and I think he hit one out in Milwaukee as well. So, he can clear the fences, but I don't think that's worth it. It's just not enough to justify parting with a top-tier arm like Gilbert or Kirby. Now, props to the Phillies for trying. The worst the Mariners can say is no. I'm glad that I'm not John Stanton or Jerry DiPoto, or whoever was on the phone. If I heard those 2 names, like Gilbert or Kirby, I would have hung up the phone. I would have just called the next team. Either way, everyone knows that the Mariners have the best starting rotation in baseball, and I think that's the biggest problem. Like, in order for them to get a big bet, most teams are going to inquire about their arms. So they might have to dip into that pool if they want to get a game-changing bet. Trading away a big pitcher for someone who doesn't elevate the team to championship status, to me, that's a hard pass. Alec Bohm is not the guy. Now, that brings us back to the Cubs and Nico Horner. The Cubs are, they want an MLB proven player for him. And he's got a good glove, but he's got 0 pop. So to me, adding Horner is like adding another Adam Frazier. Like, fine, but not game-changing. So if the Mariners have to give up significant assets for either of those guys, to me, it's just not worth it, which brings us right back to where we're beginning, or where we left off. It leaves us to looking at in-house options. So the Mariners, they said that they're comfortable with Dylan Moore and Ryan Bliss at second base for now, with Cole Young as a potential long-term solution coming up later in the year. I'm assuming if that's what they do, then they move Dylan Moore over to third base. That strategy is not exciting. It may not excite fans, but it's better than overpaying in a trade market that feels very stacked against them right now. But we'll see. Like, next week is the winter meetings. We'll see what happens. It kicks off Sunday. Hopefully by next Friday, we'll have more clarity on how the Mariners plan to address the hot corner, and they truly intend to keep their starting rotation intact. So that's all for today's episode of Keep It Electric. I hope everyone enjoys their weekend. Stay charged, and as always, go Mariners.